Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
What's up? This is a Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. This is your first time listening. Welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. It's good to have you with us this evening. Got a great guest for you lined up, but first, let's get through some house cleaning stuff. If you're enjoying what I'm doing and you like the app that I'm working with, StreamYard here, you can go down to my affiliate link right there, and all of that will be available in the description and the show notes. If you use that link, I will get a discount, and so will you. You'll get $10 off your first paid subscription for the month, and then I'll get a credit as well, and that will help support the show. I'll also be streaming that or putting it right down there below. If you want to connect to the show, all the ways to connect to the show are on my link tree. That's available in the show notes as well. All my social media handles are there. All the ways to donate to the show. If you want to leave me a tip, if you want to, subscribe on Patreon, all the ways that you connect to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast is in that link tree. This evening, we have Paul Kratsas, and his story is kind of unique. I've always, I've been dealing with a lot of having shows and episodes and talking a lot about the conspiracy charge and the abuse of it or the misuse of it. With prosecutors on the state and the federal side in the federal courts. A lot of it was more of it, I believe, is in the federal system. But I've been dealing with a lot of that, and I have the privilege of talking to a gentleman who, he had spent 30 years of his life locked up on a conspiracy charge, a ghost dope conspiracy charge at that, which means that it was basically hearsay. Somebody said that he had this, and probably somebody else corroborated that, and that's all they needed. And it was just a drug charge. There's people that have murdered folks and, don't do that much time. And so I'm honored to be able to talk to him. He just got released 10 days ago on the 5th from doing almost 30 years. Let's introduce Paul Kratsas.
This is Paul Kratsas.
Hey, what's happening?
How you doing?
What's happening, brother? Hey, it's good to talk to you, and I'm glad you could make it to be on the show.
Glad to be here.
I bet, man. I bet. I mean, one thing I got to ask before we get into the story: what was the first thing you ate when you got a chance?
Well, I wanted to go to McDonald's or something like that, But we went to have steak and lobster, But I'm kind of tired of that steak and lobster because we had it every day in prison,
Oh yeah. I know. I was there. I did not as long. I did a 18-month stint in a medium, but that was not enough time to get any programming in or anything. You just by the time you get settled, it's time to go. So tell me a little bit about your background. I know that from reading the stuff that you'd sent me when I was trying to do the description, you were your last drug deal was basically a drug deal gone bad,
Right.
right? And then pick it up from there.
Well, I want to do a drug deal. You know, I'm not saying I was an angel or nothing like that. I was in the drug business, and I want to do a drug deal, and it wasn't a drug deal. These guys had other plans, and their plans were to kill me and take the money. You know, I didn't know they was doing bad at the time, but that's what happened. So I got shot, robbed, and carjacked, and sent to prison for life. That's in short. But there's a story behind every segment of it. You know, I want to meet the guys, and they put the gun in my head and pulled the trigger. And lucky for me, there wasn't a bullet in the chamber. When the bullet did get chambered, I took two to the face and wind up crashing the car and getting away. That's another story in itself. But after being charged at the hospital with attempted murder on the people who just shot me, I'm the one get charged. And I got charged with 25-kilo conspiracy because he said he worked for me. And I put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger, and the bullet didn't go off. And that's how I got the attempt murder charge. But that didn't happen. That happened to me. Nothing. So when I made bail on both of those charges, the feds picked me up. And they charged me with conspiracy with someone already in prison. And that's what I was found guilty of by the jury. Conspiracy alone is what the jury found me guilty of. 0 drug amount. So that charge right there carries a maximum of 20 years. But from 1987 to 1999, and a little while after, people are getting sentenced illegally in violation of their Sixth Amendment right. So you don't have to have any drugs found by the jury. The judge will find it by preponderance of the evidence. And the Supreme Court said in Apprendi, and again in Elaney 2013, that they can't do that. The jury has to find a person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of any fact or element that increases a person's sentence. That wasn't done in my case. And it's not done in many people's cases that were convicted from 1987 of November, 1999 of July. Still have people in prison doing time on Sixth Amendment violation because there's no Apprendi ruling by the Supreme Court was not made retroactive, even though it's a watershed ruling.
So what you're saying is that there's a whole bunch of folks that still, you know, are looking for some reprieve. What's the obstacle to that reprieve? I mean, you were able to get out on the compassionate release, which was, I put it in there. I think it's the actual. I hope I got the actual law right that I put in there, but it was basically. Well, go ahead and explain it.
Well, what happened was Chuck Grassley and Dick Durbin passed the helped write the First Step Act, and with the help of Jared Kushner and Donald Trump, it got signed and passed in December of 2008. There was a little loophole that, you know, the law wouldn't, the way the laws wrote, it don't affect me because it may change the statute that I found guilty of. It changed life sentence to 25 years, but it did not make it retroactive. So that change statute was good, but it wasn't retroactive. So I couldn't go back in court on that. I had to wait for it to go retroactive, and it's been over 2 years and it hasn't went retroactive yet. So I heard one of the newscasters that helped on you know, the bill will help everyone. So I kind of believe I just had to look in that law and try to find that loophole that would. And that loophole was the compassion. They said that because the BOP wasn't bringing forth that compassion. The law, the First Step Act, said that we, the prisoners, the inmates, can bring forth a compassionate release motion. And under paragraph D, it says, so I think my case is extraordinarily compelling, that the fact that I wouldn't get that much time day. And I shouldn't get that much time even then. So the most time I would be today, found activity, would be around 12 to 15. And when I did almost 30, I think that's extraordinary. And that was my argument that I was trying to make to the judge with the help of Paul Kratsas, who wrote the motion. And all that. And that's basically what he.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Your audio is breaking up to where it's making it really difficult for folks to hear you. So we'll try. We'll try it again. You stopped at, you had the 15 years is what it would have been, and then the last thing we heard is Carlos was the one that wrote the motion for you.
Yeah, he helped me. I've been saving the paperwork to do the motion for about 4 years, so I met the right person, and I finally met the right person, and he offered to help me, and he spent many hours researching, and that's basically what he came up with. And we've, the compassionate relief for the First Step Act.
All right, whatever you're doing is working a lot better. So let's answer go to some of these questions here. So Kevin Haynes says, I believe everything that he is saying. I did 27 years in the feds. We've got Betty Alfred. God bless you, PJ. Glad you're finally home. And you can answer them if you like too as well.
Yeah. I mean, the law has got to change. So these judges need to have the power to re-sentence people the way they should. It's happening because the war on drugs is over. Whether some people don't want to believe that or not, it's over. So, you got weed legalized, but yet you still have people in prison doing life for weed. So they need to come home too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I believe, I've talked to a lot of folks actually. So were you an addict or were you just a hustler?
No, I never did use drugs.
Okay, so you were just kind of got caught up in the lifestyle and just progressing along and whatever happens, you were basically addicted to the hustle and the money and everything that came along with it.
Yes.
So I've been talking to some other folks, the ones that are on the other end of some of these, conspiracy indictments down out of the Northern District of Texas. I still have to air those episodes, but I wanted to wait a little while because I had a partner who was running the same one, so mine was going to be a little bit different. But the same thing, they got caught up in conspiracies with other folks. They were in detention waiting after they got busted. You've got people that are telling on each other or actually conspiring while they're in there to kind of corroborate a story together and calling up the feds and saying, hey, look, we got information on X, Y, and Z. And then lo and behold, it started out as 53 grams and turns into 17 kilos before.
Well, that's because the judge can find facts, the jury's got to be able to find facts, and you can be charged with conspiracy to sell drugs, but yet maybe you get years, maybe you get 30 years, but then all of a sudden you can get sentenced to life for a murder, and you say, hey, I wasn't indicted for murder, I wasn't found guilty by a jury for murder, but here at the end of the trial, the judge is sentencing you for a murder. That's the kind of craziness that's going on from 1997 to 1999. Yeah,
it's too bad, and it really, it doesn't. Like when I was hearing about this when I first caught my case back in 2004, 2005. There were people in my pretrial. There were some guys there that had been out of the game for years. And somebody pulls their name out of a hat and decides to, use their name to get some time off, and they're sitting in there on a conspiracy charge. They think that there's no evidence, so they can go ahead and fight the case. And like your situation, you took it to the box and ended up getting the maximum amount, right?
Well, yes. Like I said, charges they hit me with was attempt murder and 25 kilo conspiracy. Basically was a frame up, and those got thrown out. So I knew because the lies that was told won't add up in court. Because the car that they said took a trip to Florida, I just bought at the auction, and the mileage ain't going to add up. So I knew I was going to beat that. It's just going to take time. But anyway, the last charge, the federal charge, is the one that I couldn't beat. And yes, the guy did get time off for basically testifying.
And that very, and I heard that that very same guy had some controlled buys in his background as well, right?
Got locked up with 6 kilos on him in his car, did some controlled buys and all that. But he did not. There was no proof the me and him did anything together other than his word.
Yeah, there's definitely, we got to have some reform on that, man, because so, I mean, with the new changes and everything else, I mean, does it lessens it by a little bit, but I mean,
yeah, things are getting better, but there is still ways to go. The way to fix this problem is to bring back parole the way it was, and that would be a check and balance against the out of control, prosecutor or court system or whatever. The old prosecutor in my case actually tried to help get me clemency 4 years ago. I just found this out, but I was denied by Obama. But so my clemency did go to the White House 4 years ago.
oh man, yeah, we have your judgment, or not judgment, but opinion from your judge that I'm gonna bring up and read a portion of that at some point. Ray Reddish says, "Thank you, Carlos, for your work you did to get my brother out. God bless you." We had Jeffrey Munyon saying, "Tell them, Paul, speak it, speak it, brother."
Well, a lot of people helped me. Carlos Bazin did all the legal work, and a year and a half later, the federal public defenders picked it up. But there's a lot of people that was pushing work in different directions. My sisters did a lot of work, tireless. Jeff, a lot of people, and Carlos never stopped, but a lot of people fought for me,
Yeah, but you also fought for yourself, because, I mean, I've been there, and it's real easy to sit around and do nothing. I mean, except, go to your job, but I mean, it's real easy to come back to the pod and just, hang out and not do anything. You didn't do that, even though your future was bleak and you had no idea that any of this was going to even transpire or take place. You still went on a mission to better your life, better yourself, take responsibility for the situation and what happened, and you programmed.
Yeah, some of them programs that they've been offering pretty good, and I was lucky to take the Life Connections program. I did it for all the wrong reasons at first, but once I got in the program, it was to benefit myself.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. It's always good to see when somebody takes responsibility for their actions and then turns around and tries to, better themselves. And by bettering themselves, they're bettering the people around them. Lisa Marie Borey McLaughlin, God bless his two sisters for not giving up on him as well. Kathy Renzi says, thank you, Catherine Newberger. Carlos Baisden, I get too much credit. Paul had to make the right choices for a long time to even be eligible. That's very true.
And, I like to say, the federal public defender, who took my case last year did a good job. I mean, he did things that Carlos couldn't do, and he picked the ball up and basically carried it across the finish line, So,
yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean.
There was a lot of people that played a part. Even attorney Andrew White, out of Baltimore, did a great job too, helping me, trying to do what he could.
Yeah, I mean, even when you watch some of the, some of the documentary stuff on, what it takes to get somebody out on clemency, or like I've been in contact and I've had Amy Can Do from Can Do Clemency on my show as well. And, there's a lot of work that goes into that. I know another guy, Chad Marks. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, I know.
He does a lot of work too, trying to help people get out.
Working very hard, at trying to bring change,
Yep.
And doing a lot of work and trying to make changes. Like I said, the only way to fix it is to reinstate parole. Parole is in place now. All the lawmakers got to do is reinstate it the same way it was in 1987 and before. And that will be a good check and balance. And it will reward those who are trying to program from those who are not. So, you want to program, do the right thing, stay out of trouble, then you're going to get a chance at parole. But if you don't, then you're not. So it's a good check and balance. And on a life sentence back then, a person was eligible for parole after 12 years. So I could have got out 18 years ago had I programmed, did the right thing. So that would have been a good check and balance against,
Yeah, it's incentivization. You're incentivized to do well, then you're gonna behave well. For the rewards at the end of that. We got Carlos Baisden again, and yes, without his sisters to support him, the judge would be reluctant to release someone without support on the outside. So there's three things right there that had to line up for you to be able to do this as well. Yeah. Jeffrey Munyon, we love you, Paul. Ray Reddish, thank you all. You all did a wonderful job. Carlos again, yep, it's a team effort. Shows like this and other media make a big impact too. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate it. I'm just an amplifier. I'm amplifying and trying to boost the signal of other people that need to get their stories out there, and righting the wrongs, some of the corruption that goes on out there, boosting those signals as well. And that's all we can do. You've got a whole huge conglomerate media, mainstream media machine that does a very good job at hiding things and keeping things from, that they don't want, part of the narrative. And so it's up to us smaller mainstream, not mainstream media outlets and alternative media outlets to, kind of rage against that, or not so much rage against it, but fight it with our media and the real stories and what's really happening. And at some point, hopefully it'll all intersect and, we'll be the majority and not the minority. One can only hope, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Munyon, God also helps in this. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Ray Reddish, amen. Jeffrey Munyon, Chad Marks, blessings. So, yeah, you got that portion of it, what you learned while you were in there. What are the plans for Paul now that you're out?
Well, I like to change the system and help those that are left behind, really. In any way I can, shine some light, on the issue. My thing will be trying to bring back parole for everyone. And right now, you got these guys that have been locked in since the COVID thing started. Last year, March 13th, when the COVID started. They've been locked down ever since. Getting fed bad. This has got to end for them. They got to be, stop being treated like that, basically. So we're getting our lives back together with COVID out here. But they're on lockdown ever since. I was on lockdown for like 9-10 months because of it.
Yeah, I was talking to folks inside when it was happening, and it was it was just getting bad. So yeah, it's such a huge. It seems like such a huge ladder to climb, mountain to climb. But just little bit at a time, wins like this you being able to tell your story and talk to folks out there and let them know what's going on. Any of the change.org petitions that you have, feel free to send them my way, and I'll definitely post them on my social media and stuff like that. That way, I can help boost that signal as well.
I got two of them that I'm working on starting. One, friend, and I'm trying to help. He's got a weed case. His name's Long. He's doing life sentence in the federal system for weed. And another one in Amber Clark, her brother, Harold Morrison. He got a 20-year sentence for weed in the state of Maryland. And I'm trying to help James Sweeney. He's got a life sentence in the feds. That case needs to be investigated if there's issues with that. So those are the cases that I'm working on now with Carlos Bazin.
So I have a question. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what are your thoughts with the guy that wrote this bill, that's kind of responsible for all of that from the '94 crime bill, as the president? Do you think he's going to do more about deprivatizing prisons, especially the BOP, where he's talking about prison industry not they're doing away with it, but they're not really doing away with anything in the BOP.
Well, I understand what your question is. Yeah, he's going to do that. I mean, yeah, he wrote the crime bill. He's responsible for it. But you got to understand that was in the midst of the beginning of the drug war. That's the thing. He's one of the gatekeepers of the drug war. He knows it's over with. He knows it's ended. So it doesn't matter who's president. It's going to be fixed. The problem's going to be fixed. And he knows it's going to be fixed. The lawmakers like Chuck Grassley and Dick Durbin know what needs to be done, and they're going to do it. They're going to fix the problem. It's going to be a bipartisan effort.
I hope so.
And, to help fix it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, hopefully it does work out that way, and we start getting some of these exorbitant amounts of time, and the people that are serving those exorbitant amounts of time, some reprieve and some light at the end of the tunnel for them. Let's get to a couple more of these questions, and I'm going to show the pictures from you from when you were in there. Let's see, we got Jeffrey Munyon, Beautiful Sisters. Dawn Marie Crabe, Hearts. Betty Alfred, Amen PJ, let them hear your voice, brother. Exactly. That's what we got to do. Amplify the voices of people who've been wronged. Or I wouldn't say so much wrong, but I mean, if the crime and the time is just way upside down.
Like Thomas Gear, life sentence for marijuana. You got a lot of people doing time. The jury finds them guilty of one thing, but they're sentenced to another because it was done on preponderance of evidence during that little segment from 1987 to 1999.
Yeah. Definitely. It's every time, it irritates me a lot, because every time I think about it, my mind always goes immediately to the conspiracy side of it, and I know that a lot of times that, there is just because of the situation, a lot of things look nefarious, but it's just because it's a broken system, no, the system kind of runs the way it's supposed to. But Frank Fernandez, we need campaign finance reform and term limits to keep out of touch. Career lawmakers in check. The war on drugs is an absolute waste. Federal judge appointments should not be lifetime. There are too many street-level 18 to 25-year-old first-time offenders getting their lives ruined by antiquated sentencing guidelines. Absolutely, I agree with that. Jeffrey Munyon, let's do this. And Jeffrey again, Paul was buried alive. So at this point right here, I'm going to switch to a couple of pictures of Paul while he was doing time. I'm going to bring that in. We'll go full screen on that. So how old were you on in this picture, Paul?
Well, that was taken in 2007, I believe. So, 13 years ago? So I was about 43.
43. How old were you when you got locked up?
27.
27? Damn, that's young. And that's you and your niece. As well, probably, I imagine, one of the reasons why you...
That's my granddaughter.
Your granddaughter?
Yeah. My son's daughter. He died
awesome.
last year.
Oh, man, sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. So I imagine that was a really motivator right there for you to keep going and keep pushing on, right?
Definitely.
Yep.
Me and my sisters.
And they've been through... What's the age difference there?
My one sister is... They're in 50 and 55. It ain't much age difference.
Okay. Were you close when you went away?
Well, basically, when I went away, I kind of like wanted this, cut everybody off from the outside world there for a while, because I had to deal with this situation in prison. So. Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough. I remember not wanting to really talk to anybody either because it was a lot easier for me to be there when I don't know what's going on over there.
Well, I didn't think I was going to get out,
Yeah.
I really believed for the first 10 years I wasn't getting out.
Yeah.
So only little things changing here and there did I see a little bit of hope,
And you started your sentence at 27 in a maximum security, right? High?
Yeah, Lewisburg.
What was that experience like? Being that age, coming into a facility that's like I'd never experienced that, and I'd probably be pretty scared.
Well, things happen,
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I didn't think that I would ever get out. Put it that way.
Well, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you made it.
I'm glad I made it too. Thank for it too, like Catherine Newberger, Public Defender's Office, Federal Public Defender's Office out of Baltimore, and Carlos Bazin, and my sisters, and Jeff Munyon. A lot of people, did a lot of work. It was a team effort for sure.
Yes, sir. So tell me about this picture. You got quite a long hair there. You got short hair now.
That picture was taken in 2002 in USP, Colorado. Florence, Colorado.
Okay. Is that where they have the ADX?
Yeah, they have the ADX right next door and the USP right there together.
All right.
That was taken in Lompoc in 2000.
Ah, Lompoc, that's in my neck of the woods in California, down south.
Yeah, I think it's summer of 2000.
All right, that's good for that. Let's go to what I want to read here. It's the last part of this, and I think it really speaks to what to you as a person. Well, I'll go ahead and read 2 pages. One of the original prosecutors, now in private practice, supports the request for immediate release. Without minimizing the offense conduct, he points out the comment of the sentencing judge that the mandatory life sentence was too high and that he would impose the low end of the then mandatory guidelines if permitted, and states that the highest mandatory minimum for this conduct would be 25 years, and that the changes to qualifying predicate convictions likely mean that he would face at most a 15-year mandatory minimum today. Pursuant to McCoy, Mr. Kratsas and then mandatory life sentence imposed presents grounds for compassionate release consideration. Furthermore, consideration of this current dangerous and the statute 3553A factors support granting release. Mr. Kratsas has spent nearly 3 decades in prison for a nonviolent drug offense. Although he possessed a firearm, for which the sentence today likely would be less, perhaps much less, a defendant today would certainly not face a mandatory life sentence. No one does for a drug offense. The 2 prior drug convictions on his record resulted in suspended sentences and would not qualify as predicate serious drug convictions for statutory enhancements. The assault with intent to murder could qualify as a prior crime of violence. Thus, he would face a 15-year mandatory minimum if the government filed a notice under 851. His now advisory guidelines as a career offender would still be quite high, but with good time credits, he has already served more than the bottom of those guidelines. This is the part that really impressed me. Few defendants left to their own devices present as well-reasoned, comprehensive, and compelling motions as those filed by Mr. Kratsas over the years. Undeterred by his lack of success, Mr. Kratsas persevered, and his latest motion will be granted. It is time to recognize that both the law and Mr. Kratsas have changed over the last 3 decades. His youthful refusal to acknowledge his guilt or to accept punishment has given way to reflective maturity. His positive attitude while in prison is demonstrated by the myriad courses, programs, and activities he has completed successfully, earning him transfer to a low-security facility and the support of his mentor and family. He has demonstrated that he is not likely to be a danger to society due to his insights into his personal responsibility and the release plan he has offered. He is to be commended for his refusal to lose hope. A separate order will follow. So tell me, man, what did it feel like? Let me get rid of this and pull you back in here. What did it feel like to... Hold on a second. Yeah, let me get this out of here. All right, what did it feel like to, like, when you saw that, when you heard that? I mean, what was it?
I mean,
what was that feeling?
When I got it on an email, my lawyer, Kathy Newberg, sent it to me, and I kind of like stepped away from the computer, you know, because I was kind of like in shock, basically, you know, and I owe, you know, the Life Connections program. It was them and the mentor they set up, you know, Mike Hart. That program helped get me to a low security, which basically, you know, they told me for most of the time that you'll never go to a low. You can only go to a medium. But people graduating from that program did get to go to lower security prisons, you know, with life sentence. I think about 9 of us wind up going there all together. 3 of us went to Sandstone alone. And, you know, I never got a chance to thank the judge in that case, but Judge Chaston, you know, I really am appreciative, you know, for what she done for me, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's really admirable to see and to, you know, kind of hear about the different, you know, how like that's got to be difficult, man. It's got to be difficult to not implode under those circumstances for so long. And yeah, you're a inspiration, man. And I just keep up the good work, and you know, don't. I know you're not going to take it for granted, and you're going to do some great things on the back end of this. You have a 10-year tail, right?
Yeah, my sisters, you know, really, Kathy and Joy really helped me, you know, as far as making it and success, and set me up with a nice place and house and a car. And they did everything and more, you know, and my friends are even stepping up, and making sure that I got everything that I need. All of
Yeah,
it.
that's a key to success for somebody getting out. And I'm going to run through a couple more of these comments here. You got Carlos based in another remarkable thing that helped PJ come home was going from a USP down to a low. Most lifers never make it to a low and never get wrapped up and may get wrapped up in the negativity of the system. Absolutely. Yeah, I would like to know whose email he read first. I think Catherine was the first to find out since she was the attorney assigned at the time. I just want to thank all involved, from Jeffrey, Carlos. It takes fortitude for a judge to grant a compassionate release. They often receive criticism, even in cases like Paul's, when his release is totally justified. Yeah, the first part of that opinion was were they trying to argue against letting you go?
Well, I mean, yeah, they got to argue something. They were basically saying that the First Step Act wasn't retroactive and things like that. But even though it's not retroactive, the judge still has discretion to lower a person's sentence on anything they deem extraordinary or compelling. And that's what the case McCoy basically said in the Fourth Circuit. And one thing about it, when Biden came in, Trump was good, for justice and change, changing laws, whatever. But when Biden came in, he changed the U.S. prosecutors. And what that did was, I believe, telling the prosecutors in each state to stop appealing these compassionate releases to the higher court, like McCoy, to the full Fourth Circuit, because that would extend it. I would still be in prison right now if that wasn't the case. So Biden did help speed up things, I guess, by appointing new prosecutors.
Yeah, for sure. All right. It takes fortitude for... Oh, we already read that one. Let's go. Paul earned many trades in prison. What did you... what were some of the trades that you learned? I know when I was there, I was a barber.
I took welding, basic and advanced, and floor care maintenance, and heating and air conditioning.
That's a good one. Jeff Munyon, just look at my buddy. He is doing what needs to be done. And then getting tongue-tied. Lisa Marie Bory McLaughlin, keep your head up and clear. You can now focus on helping others. And I think that, there was I think we're at a point where, and this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about, having a support system when you get out, and, that being one of the, key elements to folks that are returning home, re-entering society, back to the community or back to their respective communities, is a support system. Because when you don't have that, it's very easy for guys to, reoffend, or just looking at, it's just a lot easier. I mean, they put you through a lot of hoops. Let's just say that. Depending on where you live, getting a job and all this other stuff, the halfway house, to me, in my opinion, I believe that the cards are stacked against you when you get out and you don't have a support system or a plan in place.
If they don't have that, then they will get mandatory halfway house even if their time is up.
Yeah, so, those halfway houses aren't very fun.
No.
It's almost just like it's almost like being in prison but not in prison.
Sure.
Well, at least the one that I was at in Oakland, California. So, we're at about 45 minutes, Paul. I got one to do after you. So, any parting words? Anything that you want to talk about that we didn't get to?
Yeah, well, there's going to be a change.org petition I'm going to put up in the next day or two. I like to get a lot of signatures on it for a friend from the neighborhood, James Sweeney, and a guy named Thomas Gear and Long, from California. Both of them in the case of weed, life sentence. all three of them got life. Actually, different thing. That's basically it.
All right. Well, like I said, you can definitely send all that stuff to me. I'm good. This will be coming out in the podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, all the major platforms and the small ones. I plan on doing it tomorrow, but if I hold off a little bit, if you can get those to me, I can add that to that, so they'll be up there. Yeah. On the show notes and in the description. And if you want to follow Paul, you can over at on the Facebook. There's his Facebook profile page. That's also available in the description. And hang out for a second, Paul. And after I sign out, I'll be right there to talk to you for a second.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, brother. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you've been watching, thank you. I appreciate it. That's a great story. It's always nice to see when somebody has made a change and changed their life around and wants to do better. I did that. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is the best thing that you can do. Because helping people, in my opinion, and sometimes I don't even know who I'm helping. But when I do help somebody and somebody does reach out to me and say, hey, man, I needed to hear that episode, or, I loved what you said about this or that. That was what I needed to, move on another day, to keep pushing, to keep fighting, to keep going, when things seem tough. And, I think that's what we're all here to do. We're here to help each other and realize that we are more alike than we are different. And the more that we can live in that and in those thoughts and in that place, everything and anything is possible, I believe. So if you liked the video and you've been watching on YouTube, do me a favor, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. If you're on Facebook, do me a favor, like the video, share it. If you are on the podcast platforms and you're listening to this, do me a favor, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button on any platform that you're on. We could use the support, and also it helps us to become more visible on the platforms themselves. Jesus, I'm having a hard time talking this evening. Looking forward to seeing you some more this week. I have 3 lined up on Thursday. They'll be at 6 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, and at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And then I'll have 1 more on Friday at 6 p.m. And then that'll be it for the week. So until Thursday, I will talk to you all later.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.